All right, let's go, because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
So Frank Warren has put in the appeal for Dubois to get a rematch against USYK. And I said, you know, the appeal cannot be taken serious. For one, Bob Arum is talking about USYK is next for Tyson Fury. And he's not messing about. I'm not sure if Bob can make the fight, if Tyson don't want to take it, but Bob is serious. And then Frank Warren himself said, early next year, USYK and Tyson Fury. Well, doesn't that contradict an appeal for Daniel Dubois? What is it? Like hours after Frank logged the appeal, he's calling for Anthony Joshua to take on Daniel Dubois. I thought you was appealing for Daniel to get a rematch. You haven't even waited a couple of days. And you're trying to cash him out against Anthony Joshua. And if Joyce loses next week, like I believe he will, he's probably going to be calling for Joyce to fight Anthony Joshua next. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. Frank wants to cash out, basically. A lot of people are saying it's not right that Daniel just walks into a huge payday. He didn't even deserve the title shot. And then he walks into a huge payday against AJ. I can see the logic, but I can also see it being a good opponent for Anthony Joshua in the UK. I can also see that, providing the Wilder fight doesn't happen.
I feel like from the opening bell, Joe had problem figuring out what the fight is going to be looking like. So he activated a rematch. He definitely analyzed the fight. I did the same thing. I'm going to aim for his eye too. I know where his weakness is.
Zhang taking no prisoners. He's going to target Joyce's eye. No surprise that he said that. Derek Chisora, he said if Joyce trains for 4, 5 or 6 and tries to blast Zhang out, that could be his key to getting it back. And he also said if Joyce warms up with Zhang and Zhang starts to land that southpaw jab, he's fucked because the eye isn't healed. He'll lose the fight. And Derek said he doesn't believe that Joyce's eye is healed up. Derek was actually speaking about Joyce like Joyce was a bit of a mug. He said before the Zhang fight, Joyce came out. I was like, I use my head, then people don't know I'm still there. I'm still boxing. Now that wasn't coherent in itself, but he's basically saying Joyce is feeding off this reputation that he can take punches and almost bragging about it. And Derek says, this guy's an idiot. Move your effing head. Stay away from everything. You don't have to use your head for protection. And Derek went on to say, if I was Zhang in the rematch, I'd hit the same effing eye, because I'm telling you, that eye hasn't healed. Hit him there, it will be the same outcome because the eye has not healed. He should move on. He should let Zhang move on. Yo, that's coming from the most experienced heavyweight, probably in boxing right now, who's active. He knows what he's talking about. Is the turnaround a little too quick? The first fight was 5 months back. It could be psychological as well as physical. We're talking about the eye. You know, we saw Anthony Joshua get it back from Andy Ruiz after being stopped. And this is a big test for fighters, going straight back into immediate rematches. According to Lennox, Salas has tried to get Joyce moving his head more after he punches. And you see, I think Joyce may be able to implement a little more head movement. I don't think Joyce is a guy who's going to be moving his head for 12 rounds. I think he'll abandon it, especially if he's forced into the trenches or forced to try to get into the trenches. He's got to get close up on Zhang. And if he's forcing the fight, how much will he really be moving his head? I'm not too sure. Credit due for him to taking an immediate rematch though. He wants to get his mandatory spot back. And Zhang wants to hold on to that mandatory spot as well. A lot to play for. It's basically, what do you prefer? Who would you rather be? Because Zhang is in no man's land when it gets to around 8 rounds. But for Joe to take advantage of that, he's got to get to round 8 without his face getting lumped up. Joe's going to come in heavier. They're saying Joe looks heavier this time around. Here's the thing. When you say he's coming in heavier, that means he's not planning to move away from Zhang's punches. That means he's trying to fight force with force. And that's what Zhang wants. Zhang doesn't want movers. He wants someone there who's going to stand and fight with him. I have to go by the first fight, and I think Zhang's position is probably the more preferred to have, in my opinion. I've heard some people say Joyce needs to go to the body. Body punching is an art. And you've got to know how to go to the body without getting countered to your head. because you're targeting an area where you have further to bring your gloves back up to protect your face than if you're throwing a headshot. You know, look, Joyce has got to do some basic stuff. If he's going to fight Zhang up close, he's got to be a little cute tying up on the inside. And a lot of British fighters are not experienced at doing that. Fighting right in front of Zhang is right in Zhang's alley because he has slow ass feet, bruh. Slow feet. He don't want to chase nobody. He loves Joe Joyce's style. He loves fighting that style, trust me. He enjoyed every minute of it. And that's why I picked Joyce to win the first fight, because I thought he had the foot speed advantage against Zhang. I expected him to make the adjustment and not always be right there in front of him. And if he's going to be successful this time, the feet are going to be very important. Whether he likes moving out of the way of punches or not, whether he wants to indulge in this iron chin juggernaut reputation, it doesn't matter. And you'll lose more fights down the line in a weight class if you don't make the adaptations and the adjustments. You know, we could be looking at the other side of his career as he makes his way out of the top half of the heavies if he doesn't make the adjustments next week. It's as simple as that. It's as harsh as that, the boxing game. Another thing people are not factoring in, everybody seems to be talking about the adjustments Joyce can make. Well, what about the adjustments that Zhang can make? I mean, if we get a Zhang who can improve his stamina and throw some more punches, boy, I don't know, Joyce. I don't know. Because I'm not expecting his feet to be any quicker. But just a bit more stamina and a few more punches, then it's an uphill battle for Joyce. It really is. I mean, even if he doesn't make any adjustments and just brings what he bought last time, it's still an uphill battle for Joyce. It's still uphill. Like I say, credit due for taking the immediate rematch. It could be a long way back after this. He could join Daniel Dubois there at Queensbury with Frank Warren trying to cash him out if it goes pear-shaped next week. I'm picking Zhang. Let's say Joyce can take a good punch. If he's taking repeated punches, whether his face is elephant manned up or not, the referee will have no choice but stop it if he's taking unanswered punches. And then all the plaudits he got about the iron chin will be less and less. An iron chin and no defense can still get you in a lot of hot water. And I don't believe he has an iron chin, for that matter. No fighter does.
You know, when Tyson Fury spoke about the prospect of a Terence Crawford Errol Spence rematch, he said, well, we know who's going to win. Roy Jones, he advises against it. Teddy Atlas, and you can go on and on and on. But Spence has activated the rematch clause. I think a lot of it is bravado, as to say the defeat hasn't affected him that bad. He can still go ahead and fight Terence Crawford again, which he can. Now, let's talk about the rematch clause. As it stands, Terence Crawford has control over what weight the rematch with Errol Spence is fought at. The murmurs are that Crawford wants to take the fight at 147, knowing that Errol Spence can no longer make 147. They're implying that 147 affected his performance and he'll be more effective at 154. And that's why Crawford wants to set the rematch at 147. Are they really implying that Crawford has any issues with facing Spence at 154 after watching the first fight at 147? Maybe that's what they're implying. Crawford is trying to get out of the fight. Well, I could equally say if Spence doesn't accept the rematch at 147, that he's trying to get out of the fight. Because Spence has fought at 147 his whole career. Now all of a sudden, you want to cite weight as a reason why he can't be effective against Terence Crawford. It's okay while you're winning, but when you lose, oh, I need to move up. And if people are implying that he's a weight bully, that means that he's got advantages fighting at 147 when he should have been at 154. You can't have it both ways. And that's what a lot of boxing fans and media don't get. Terence Crawford is not struggling with the weight like Errol Spence is. He did say he was having issues getting down to 147, Crawford, but he's not having the issues that Errol Spence had. And the truth is, Spence has lost any leverage in terms of what leeway and concessions he can get for the rematch. He lost the fight. Yeah? If you don't fight him at 147, that's your problem. not Bud Crawford's. By offering Errol Spence the rematch at 147, he is obligating his contract. He has choice of which weight the fight is fought at. Now, I know a lot of media and fans don't like that, but that's just what it is. That's just what it is. Bud is not obligated to make it easy for Furman, Garcia, or Errol Spence. They didn't make it easy for him when he wasn't on PBC. Now he's the king of PBC. It is what it is. If Spence wants to fight at 154, Crawford will want to be compensated, is what the word is. Yeah, it's hardball, but it's legal. It's not like Spence doesn't have the rematch options there. The options are there. I don't see the problem with it.
I saw it coming.
It was inevitable that Crawford was going to start kicking some ass once he got a foothold in the game. I don't know what anyone else was expecting. Too early for me to jump off the Bud train, bro. Way too early for me. But I understand if others do.
Then, of course, the choice is yours.
No more entourages at weigh-ins and press conferences. No more. If you do not have accreditation or passes to do media, if you're not a member from the press, you have no need to be in the areas where the boxers are getting weighed in, or where they're talking, or where they interact with each other. If you are not the chief second corner, manager, or a promoter, or have some significant contribution to the event, you have no need to be there, and you need to be kept out. That's what I said 6 days ago, and it sounds like Uncle Frank listened to beats. Now, Frank Warren is saying Wardley has to go see a doctor, so he's not sure if the fight goes ahead. So basically, a boxer and his entourage have put the fight in jeopardy. Here's the thing. A lot of people think this is good promotion for the sport. We don't get to necessarily dictate what is good promotion, fighting in the presser at the weigh-in. We don't necessarily get to dictate that. But the bottom line is, you're not going to fuck up Frank's money or the people at TNT's money. And that will be the deciding factor on whether entourages will be allowed in certain areas, press conferences and weigh-ins. I'm a big up Sporting Icons for bringing it to my attention that Frank Warren is actually banning entourages from areas like the weigh-in and the press conferences.
What has to stop, and we will make sure it doesn't happen, there'll be no entourages coming to these fights. All it'll be is the fighter, their manager and trainer, and maybe one other, and that will be it as far as press conferences are concerned.
And ADELEYE and his entourage have spoilt it for a lot of people who do know how to comport themselves in these environments. They spoilt it. Frank's trying to put this show on, and you nearly put the show to sleep. You can't do that with them people's money. You can't do that. There's no real good argument that it's good promotion for the show, because unless you're a diehard in Saudi, you've never heard of David ADELEYE and Fabio Wardley. They don't have to sell tickets. The tickets are sold already. It's all paid for. Courtesy of Turkey Al Sheikh. It's all paid for. It's a trade fight that will add credibility to the main event that a lot of people are not satisfied with. It doesn't need selling. That fight is there for the die-hard boxing fans to convince them to part with their hard-earned cash to purchase the pay-per-view. The gate is sold already on the strength of Ngannou and Fury.